What's the mood like there? Are people excited? Do they want this to happen? Do they go for the firework display?
Yeah, many people did go watch the fireworks. I mean, I think the mood is generally speaking that the West should step aside. This is something that Russia has done and is going to follow through on. I mean, certainly President Putin, if you watch his body language, I mean, he doesn't seem to be at all concerned about the sanctions that have been imposed thus far, or even the threat of more sanctions, or at least if he is, he's doing a very good job pretending that he isn't. He's presiding, in fact, right now over an awards ceremony for Sochi. He really has been turning a deaf ear over the last couple of days to the threats of sanctions and the Western pressure. We have heard from the Russian Prime Minister talking about Crimea. He said that all Crimeans will get Russian passports by this summer, that Russian business needs to get in there, Russian telecoms, because Crimeans' confidential phone conversations need to be handled by Russian companies. The Russian defense minister is there. But I mean, the overall feeling is just, sort of business as usual in Moscow. There's really nothing they think that they need to be concerned about.
A lot of people I've talked to, Ryan, think it's not going to stop here. He ultimately does have a real Eurasia dream, one that's important to him and significant to Russians. If he were to follow through on perhaps some of his aspirations, what would be next?
Well, one thing that Western leaders have done pretty well is spell out that if Russian forces appeared, for example, in the east of Ukraine or in the south of Ukraine, as the United States and Ukraine fears, that would trigger what they call stage 3 of the sanctions. That would lead to economic sanctions. I mean, the sanctions we've seen thus far have affected one bank and its 160,000 credit card users, which is significant. But that's really the most palpable thing for the greater public. And that's not that big of a deal if you think about the fact that there are 144 million people. All of this right now, the sanctions that we're dealing with, are rather abstract. We have lots of economists from several Russian banks saying that even the limited sanctions we've had thus far are pushing Russia in the direction of a recession. But that's just sort of academic speak. If you walk around, you don't get the feeling that that's the case, and people don't really believe here that the West intends to push this any further.